Hey guys, this is Cody.
Hi everyone, this is Abby and we're from Student Development.
So last week we sent out a survey through email and Facebook, and we asked what were your time management questions. Now, we do weekly chats every week with students, but I know that students oftentimes don't want to ask their questions publicly. So this is why we send out an anonymous chat. And so what we're going to do today is we are going to hopefully go through these questions and give you some helpful tips and advice when it comes to time management. This is pretty off the cuff. We're recording this using our laptops at home, but we wanted to get you guys this information. And so if you have any other questions following this video, once it gets posted, send us an email at studentdevelopment@uaccm.edu, and we'll be happy to get in contact with you and work with you. All right, so Abby, one of the first questions that we got by a few people as I look at the document is kind of what is time management? What
hmm
does it do, and how does it work? Now, when I think of time management, I think of time management as a concept where you structure time in your day each day so that you can get things done. And what I think that that allows you to do is it allows you to get the most out of your time. And so whenever we do time management workshops on campus, I always equate time management to money management
hmm
because they're very similar concepts. So if with time, if you're given an allowance of 24 hours a day, you have to figure out how to use that to invest in your life. Just like with your money, if you're given your paycheck, you have to use that to invest in your life and not waste your money.
Right. You have to spend it wisely. And, managing your time is having control over it, not letting it control you. So, with time management, you're in control and you're able to see where you're going to have the most benefit and, just allot that time for yourself.
Absolutely. And going back to managing it,
hmm
one of the biggest things, Abby, that I know that me and you both see whenever we're working with students individually or in groups with time management is students tend to waste small amounts of time thinking, well, I'm going to wait until I have 2 or 3 hours to get this done.
Right. Right.
But in reality, if we're looking at that as if you go to, a gas station, you buy, a bag of Doritos and a Coke,
hmm
and you give $10, you're not going to walk out without your $5 in change. You want that change because that has value. So the 30 minutes that you're not using, because you think, well, this isn't an hour, 2 hour block. The 30 minutes that you're going to use to be on social media and waste time is actually time you could have used and done something that you feel productive with. So managing your time is just like money management. You have to tell yourself no, and you have to structure yourself.
Time is very valuable, just like money.
Yes. And when you think about it, time is even more valuable because you can't earn any more time. You have what you're
Right.
allotted, and that's it.
Get it back.
Absolutely. So, Abby, the next question, this student wants to know, how do I get more out of the few hours that I have?
hmm
And so, do you have any tips for getting the most out of the few hours that a person might have?
I mean, obviously, I think the theme here with time management is managing your time and scheduling it,
Hmm.
making a list, writing it down in your planner, setting reminders in your phone, but designating, certain tasks with certain time. And if you know you have a few hours, think about, what's going to fit into that few hours, what can I accomplish, and be able to, check off my list.
Yeah, and I think you really hit on a good point there of try to think about how long that this usually takes you,
Right.
and then allot that time for that. And whenever that time limit gets reached, you can say, okay, am I about done? Can I spare a few extra minutes, or do I need to maybe move on from this and do something else?
Right.
And so I think it's important to schedule specific things, not just say, oh, I'm going to work on classwork in this 3 hour block, but to have specific goals that you have set up that you're going to reach.
Yeah, and we want to see accomplishment, because that kind of keeps us going. So if we are just working on five different things in that few hours, we're not going to feel very accomplished. But if we can,
Hmm.
do something all the way and get done with it, then we're going to be more likely to, push forward and feel like we're getting somewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think too, I've been watching some different things throughout the week, videos on this and topics, and I think it's important, and we always kind of talk about this, but this is really important now more than ever. Whenever we're at home, we have kids at home, we're working, we're stressing. It's going to be really important. I saw this the other day. We always tell students to prioritize what they have to get done. And this specific video talked about, maybe make 3 lists. Here's the things that I have to absolutely get done. They're worth the most points this week. They're vital. Here are the things that I want to get done that interest me, but maybe aren't as worth as much. And then here are the things that are worth the least amount of points that I just need to kind of get to if I have time.
Yeah.
And so I think it's going to be important to prioritize those big point things.
Yeah.
Even if they are more stressful.
Yeah, but like I said, once you do those things, it kind of just gives you that push to keep going, and you're not as overwhelmed as you were before.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And then this person, let's see, as we continue looking, I'm looking at the questions.
Mm-hmm.
One person talked about how they're always stressed because of time.
Right.
So they didn't really elaborate on that, but I think one of the things that, and we saw this last week in our group chat, is now that all of the classes are online, faculty are uploading assignments online, students are getting overwhelmed, and they're realizing, oh my gosh, I don't have as much time as I think I need to get these assignments done.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, when it comes to being stressed out about time, one of the things that I did as a college student was I would avoid the stressful situation. And now that I'm a counselor and I understand a little bit more about that process, the reason that we do that is to bring about relief. So by watching a 30-minute show on Netflix, by getting on social media, we distance ourselves from that stress and those thoughts, and we feel better in the moment. But really what that does is it brings about long-term stress.
Right.
And we continue to stress about it. And I often equate that with kind of like alcoholism. Using something as a time waster to distract yourself from the stress that you're experiencing is only making that worse. And once that distraction is over, you have to find a new distraction. So it's best to not distract at all. Abby, did you have anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, you're not solving anything by distracting. So if having a short amount of time is stressing you out, then kind of like what we do with our student readiness is just evaluating where you are spending your time. And we don't have a long period of time to do that right now, but just maybe go a day and write down, where you're spending your time and see, like you said, our time wasters, like where in there can we kind of move this to a different time, just to be the most efficient with what you need to accomplish.
Absolutely. We are constantly telling students to get a study schedule in place and to figure out where they're wasting their time. Because oftentimes, and research backs this up, and I know right now we're in kind of a different situation with COVID-19 and parents being at home with kids and with family and things like that. But college students often have more than enough time to get things done. They're just wasting their time with other distractions and things. And it's difficult to manage that because when you come to college, you have all these things already going on in your life and you have to figure out how to fit college in. Well, now not only are you having to fit college in, but now you're also having to fit the pandemic and everything that it brings in.
Yeah.
So that's difficult, but it is possible.
Right. It's definitely possible. It just takes some effort.
Absolutely. And, I sent out an email last week about adaptation. Human beings are made to adapt. Survival is all about the fittest in terms of adaptation. And so we have brains and we can adapt. It's not easy to, but we can do it.
Right.
Let's see. Here's another question that I saw, Abby, and again, we talked about this last week in our chat with some students. This students are feeling like now that they don't have a physical classroom to go to, they are having to do more homework and study more.
Right.
And so, this one student specifically asked, how do they, create a schedule uh, based upon that? But I think that's going to be important for any student who feels that way, because a lot of our students last week felt like, oh my gosh, I have more work online than I did when I actually was in physical classes.
Right. But it's like how many of our students, are you spending that amount of time that you were in class actually at that same time of day? It's very unlikely. But I think scheduling that for yourself. So say you had algebra at 8 in the morning, you might not have to do it at 8, but do it at 9 and set that block, keep that routine. That way you are able to manage that time, um, because you're not in the actual classroom. So you have to make yourself, still allot that time.
Yeah, so and I teach online psychology, and oftentimes I find after a few weeks, when I see the grades aren't very well, I'll do a survey and I'll ask students in the online class, like, how many hours a week are you spending preparing for this class?
Huh.
And they'll usually answer 2 to 3 hours. Well,
Mhm.
if you're in a 3 hour course, you should be in class for 3 hours, and then you should be studying 2 to 3 times that amount. So you should be studying, and now that you are in an online class, essentially a distance learning type class, depending on kind of how your teacher is structuring the lecture, and if they're doing virtual lecture, you should be in that class the same 3 hours and spending the same amount of time studying at home that you were.
Mhm.
So one of the things that I would say is I would set up, and I have a chart for this that I can send out. I'll send out to all students via email, and I'll probably upload it to our community group as well this week, is gathering the data for each class. So if you're taking 4 classes, you're taking 12 credit hours, that's a full-time student. For each class, is there online lecture? Where is it located? Are you responsible to be in it in real time, or can you look at it whenever? What assignments are due this week? And so structuring all that
Mhm.
is going to give you control, so then you can make your to-do list and get those things done. And I'll send that document out.
Yeah, I think that'd be really helpful as far as just managing everything, because there's a lot of freedom with doing things online. Um, but like I've told students before, you have to, be responsible and organized in order to be successful.
Yes, online classes can get overwhelming very quickly
Mhm.
because we don't necessarily always have a certain time to be somewhere. And what I
Exactly.
find a lot of students do, Abby, and I'm sure you've encountered this as well, is they'll log in an hour or two before the due date. And usually online classes, the way they're typically structured is, the due date, let's say, is Sunday night at 11 p.m. Well, students will log in at 9 o'clock and try to get all their work done in that 2 hour window, which is really stressful and often equates in a bad grade, or you get busy and forget, and then you don't turn anything in.
Yeah, or you could run out of time. You didn't allot yourself enough time because you didn't exactly how long it would take to complete that. So,
Right.
yep.
So we always suggest avoiding that.
Mm-hmm.
So when navigating, and I'm just looking at the question. So when navigating a full-time online schedule, it's going to be important to structure yourself as much as possible, because some of your faculty may already be structuring you and telling you, here's where things are, which is good. You need that information, but you then need to take that. Or if your faculty member is not structuring the class a whole lot, if they're just saying everything's due at Sunday at 11, you need to figure out times throughout the week that you can structure yourself so that you're not so overwhelmed at the end of the week. And I would say, log in. You should be logging in daily to see if there's anything new added. Don't just log in on Monday and then on Sunday go, oh no, I didn't know this was due. You need to be logging in. I would say at least the amount of times you would go to class in a week, you need to log in those many times per week, just as a rule of thumb. So if you're in Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, I would check Blackboard Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. And like I said before, it's just a matter of routine. So, not just being, sporadic here and there,
Yeah.
writing it down and sticking with it. And then, like you said, if something gets added, all you have to do is just add it to your planner, your phone calendar, whatever you're using to kind of keep track of everything. And I think this also helps with stress, because for me, when I took online classes, I would just organize everything and be able to go back and check that I was doing everything helps a lot because you don't want to feel like you're missing out on something. If you do have it all laid out, then you can just make sure that you're doing everything you need to be doing, and that can help, as far as the stress management as well.
Absolutely, and the structure of doing that allows you to be more flexible. So if you log in on Friday, you had your list created, and your instructor put an assignment up that's now due Sunday at 11, because you structured your week and you've been working on things. Now you have the time to get something done last minute if that
Exactly.
happens.
Yeah.
So yes. And then we had a few questions, and this is a topic we plan to discuss more later. But so several students discussed how difficult it is to manage their time at home, where it's easy to get distracted by watching things like Netflix and so on. And so the one thing I usually talk to students about in kind of that context is, so 6 months from now, will you be glad that you binge watched that television show? Will that be an accomplishment that you will remember and be proud of, or will getting your work done and graduating be something you're going to be proud of? So essentially, what we have to do, and we go back to the analogy of money management, is what would you rather have? Would you rather have $10,000 in your savings account, or would you rather have a lot of junk and a lot of clothes that you're probably going to donate to Goodwill at some point whenever you decide you don't like them anymore, and only have a couple $1,000s in your savings account, if that? So time management is going to be the same way. It's telling yourself no now to get what you want later.
Well, and you don't even have to tell yourself no for the whole day. If you do accomplish those things that you need today, then that could be a reward. We obviously
Mm-hmm.
believe a lot in self-care, so it's fine to watch Netflix, but you can't spend all day binging a TV show, and that TV show is not going anywhere. So you do have time later whenever you're doing your me time that you can, of course, spend watching Netflix or whatever quote time waster that you have.
Right. I mean, we all watch Netflix. Well, maybe not Netflix. Somebody may not have a subscription, but we all watch TV. We all use the internet. There's nothing wrong with doing those things. The problem is when we prioritize those over things that have to get done. So again, it's telling yourself no in that moment, delaying it, not necessarily denying it, but delaying it and saying, nope, right now I need to get this done. When I get this done, and we work with students all the time where we tell them, reward yourself when you study. And what I would say too is, when you are studying, this is just something I just thought of off the top of my head. When you set up an hour, 2 hour, or 3 hour study session for yourself to work on things, schedule breaks, because I do not know of any college student on our campus that can study for an hour at a time, much less 3. You need to break that up into 10 to 15-minute sessions so you don't get lost and your mind doesn't wander and you get distracted with your own thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can focus better when you're able to take a breather in between those studies. Sure.
Yeah. And so lastly, Abby, we had a few students talk about studying finals. And so before we touch on this, I will say this is a specific video we plan on making. We know finals is around the corner, and so we do plan on, we had a finals prep workshop scheduled on campus, but we're not able to do that. But we are going to be doing a finals prep video, probably some chat sessions, maybe making a week of it, that being the theme, how to get ready for finals. So right now, what I would suggest doing is, just like we've talked about with everything else, start gathering information about your final. Look at Blackboard, see what your instructor has put up. If they don't have anything on the final yet, send them a polite email asking about it. You need to know, is that final over a few chapters? Is that final comprehensive? Is it multiple choice? Is it essay? What is expected of you? Do you need a webcam for it? Now that we're doing classes virtually, are they going to require a webcam for you to take that course? Respondus browser. You need to know all of that information. And then when you know what chapters the material is going to be over, then you can start breaking that down into smaller chunks and studying for it.
Yeah. Planning ahead, knowing what to prepare for, and like you said, preparing for it, setting aside time that you're going to study your classes, depending on how many you have, will definitely be beneficial.
Absolutely. And so the last thing that I would say, and this isn't anything particularly about time management, but this has happened to me this week in my online classes, is I've had students drop that had great grades without even contacting me. And then after the fact, I get in touch with them and find out what's going on. So I would encourage anyone right now watching this, before you decide that you cannot do college right now, we're already almost through the semester. Like, we've got a few weeks left.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to your instructor about dropping before you drop, because if you can finish strongly with the grades that you have, even if we're almost the summer, you can then have the summer off, de-stress. I think you're going to feel a lot better about what you've accomplished since you've come this far. So I would just encourage you, communicate with your faculty member before you make a decision that may have a long-term impact on your life.
And I think a lot of our faculty are being extra understanding and flexible right now.
Yes.
If you reach out to your teacher, I guarantee you they're going to do their best to work with you, because we all want you to be successful, and we're all just kind of going through this adjustment together. So.
Absolutely. Well, guys, that's what we have for you this week. We're going to be putting up a new survey on social media. We'll send it out in email. Look for that probably towards the end of the day today. And it's going to be on stress management. We're going to talk specifically about managing stress during this time so that you can maximize your time management instead of distracting yourself and things like that. And then each week we'll have some different topics to try to get information out to you.
Thank you all for watching, and I hope you've got a little bit of something from this.
Absolutely. We hope it was helpful. Stay healthy, stay safe, and social distance.
Yeah.
Bye.